champion, connect, collaborate, care, DC Early Educator Experience, champion, connect, collaborate, care, DC Early Educator Experience.
What's up, DC? Listen, I am so excited to be here, and I'm going to start with my family. Why? Because we are cute. Period. End of story. This is my husband. He's amazing. He's an amazing singer. We've been married for 16 years, almost 17 years. You can clap for that. Listen, it's hard in these marriage streets, okay? But I'm going to have a 17-year-old child. My oldest and my youngest, AJ and Ezra, were born on the exact same day, 9 years apart. October 13th, 2009, October 13th, 2015. You know what I call them? My alpha, my omega, my beginning, my end, my first, my last. You know why? Because it is finished. Okay, I have contributed to the world of early childhood education. When we got married, we moved to Northeast DC, 58th Street. Shout out! Northeast, where you at? So I am you. I have 20 plus years in early childhood education. I ain't new to this. I'm true to this. All right? And so you learned a lot today. You learned a whole lot. But what I want you to remember is really, it's not about the pedagogy, but it's about the relationships. And I always like to start all my keynotes out with this fabulous educator, one of the baddest educators of all times, Miss Mary McLeod Bethune. Shout out to the statue in Lincoln Park, where we hung out all the time when my kids were little. But listen to her quote. She says, invest in the human soul. Who knows? It might be a diamond in the rough. Every day you go into your classroom with your students, with your children, with your families, you are investing in human souls. And so I want to give you today just 4 things to remember that you can do every single day when you go into the classroom. And number 1, I want you to champion your children. Everybody say champion children, right? The second thing I want you to do is I want you to connect with your caregivers. Everybody say connect with your caregivers. Right? So we're championing our children, we're connecting with our families, our caregivers, and we're going to collaborate. Everybody say collaborate with our colleagues, and we're going to care. Everybody say care for ourselves. Give yourselves a hug, care for ourselves. These are the 4 things you got to do every day when you go into your classroom. You're going to be an advocate. You're going to champion those children. You're going to connect with your families, those caregivers. You're going to collaborate with your colleagues, and you're going to care for yourself. And you may be thinking, this sounds real easy, Dr. O. This sounds real easy. But here's the deal. How do you champion children that get on your nerves? Now let's be real. There are some children in your classroom that get on your nerves. We do not like all of our children. We love them, but some of them get on our nerves. So can we be real and say, okay, this little boy, this little girl get on my nerves, so how can I champion them? And that's what I want to tell you today. You don't have to like and or get along with all your students in order to make them feel loved, in order to make them feel cared for, in order to make them feel like they belong. You don't have to like them. I'll tell you a quick story. I had a student, let's just call him Jacob. Jacob got on my last nerve. And Jacob was never absent. Right? Like, you're not going to take one day on Jacob always there. And before, listen, that part. And before I was married, my maiden name is Jones. And Jacob used to come to class every day and be like, Miss Jones, Miss Jones, Miss Jones, Miss Jones, Miss Jones. Oh my God, like, is it June yet? Jacob never absent. And so I did all these strategies and things with Jacob, and June came and it was great. Fast forward to almost 20 years later, I know I look like I'm 21, but I'm not. So fast forward, he found me on Facebook, and he sent me a message, and he said, is this Miss Jones? Miss Jones, Miss Jones, Miss Jones. I said, oh my God, not Jacob. But then he proceeded to write me the nicest email, the nicest message. He said, Miss Jones, you were my favorite teacher. And I know I was bad. And everybody called me a bad boy, and I know I was bad. But you never called me bad. He started labeling all the stuff I did for him. And he was like, and I remember that little corner you created for me with the couches. And I love that corner. And I'm thinking, that corner was a strategy to get me to June, right? But I say that to say that even though Jacob got on my last nerves, he never knew it. He never knew it. Because I knew that words are spirit and words are life. And words have power, presence, prophetic implication with no geographical location. You can speak a word and change the situation. And if you don't believe me, when you go in on Monday, tell your director where she can shove it. And I promise you, your situation will change. So I knew that I could not speak those negative words over Jacob. And so what do we do? How do we champion children that we don't necessarily care for? How do we do it? We have to practice patience and not punishment. Because all behavior is simply communication. What is this child communicating? You know what Jacob was communicating? I want attention. And because they gave it to him in a negative way, you so bad, you bad, send him to the principal. He's like, well, if I'm gonna get attention this way, I'm gonna keep being bad because I want attention. And so I understood that his behavior was simply communication, and I decided I'm not gonna just resort to punishment the very first time a child doesn't acquiesce to my every request. I'm going to practice patience. Because here's the real deal. Okay, so shout out to my mother, who was my Head Start teacher. Shout out to the Head Start graduates in the room. I am a proud Head Start graduate. My mother was my teacher. My mother is actually working today. My mother doesn't take off. I'm not quite sure what kind of grandmother she is, because I'm like, how you not gonna watch my kids? Because you gotta go to Head Start. But my mother is the teacher at almost 70 years old that they give all the bad kids, but suddenly they're not bad. Make that math make sense. You give my mother, the almost 70-year-old teacher in the room, all the bad kids, we can't handle these kids. Now they go to Miss Jones' class, who is almost 70 years old. She was my Head Start teacher. She's gonna have, I'm 47, she's gonna have 50 years in the game next year. And those kids that they label bad, they go to Miss Jones and they're not bad. So is it the kids? I'm just saying why. She understands that you practice patience and not punishment, and children are simply little mirrors. So can things be the way they are because you're the way you are? And what one thing can you change that can change everything? You can change the way you speak to and about your children. Now let's move on. We got to connect with our families. You don't like all your families, stop playing. You don't. And a lot of times when it comes to our families, we judge them, we have biases against them, and we treat them a certain kind of way. And no strategy I can give you to connect with your families is going to work if you don't check your biases at the door. I'm not telling you don't have biases, because we all have biases. Why? Because we're human. But you need to check those biases at the door so you ensure that you give all of your families a place where they belong. I love this picture. This picture was taken maybe 7 or 8 years ago at the Deanwood Library. Shout out to Deanwood, my library. And I came to Deanwood, I was working on my PhD, and it was probably a Tuesday, random Tuesday at 11 o'clock in the morning. And you know, I'm early childhood, so you know, I'm always watching. So I got my laptop out, so I'm working on my dissertation, and in walks this gentleman with this little boy. Number one, why he ain't in school, why he ain't in childcare, why he here with his mom. These are all the things going on in my head. And what they about to do. See, that's why our kids and our kids, you know, I'm saying, don't look at me like you don't do it, because you do it too, because you're human. But I started to watch this father with his son. And I started to watch him use every single strategy for teaching an 18-month-old how to read right before my eyes. He was doing the fingers. He was getting on the floor. When the little boy got on the floor, he got on the floor. He was reading this particular book with all the inflection and all, to the point the spirit inside of me was like, you got to get up, you got to go say something. So I went over to him, I said, excuse me, I'm Mrs. Harris, I'm working on my Ph.D. in early childhood education, and I can't help but notice how you are with your son. Me and this guy had a 20-minute conversation about best practices for teaching early literacy skills to young students. He was like, yeah, I really want to teach my child how to read. I'm really interested in early childhood, especially literacy. He was dropping knowledge, like pedagogy, like studies. This guy, with the locks, with the hip-hop gear, and all the things, this guy. And I said, now this guy walked into my center. Would the first thought on my brain be, young, educated man who knows all about early literacy and young children? No, it would not. And so, what do I do with that? I have to practice curiosity and not jump to conclusions. You check your bias at the door. Do I have a bias for young black men who got locks and got the hip-hop gear on? Do I automatically think Harvard graduate, Harvard scholar, Howard University? Do I automatically think that? No, I don't. But I need to check it at the door because that dude was dropping terms, knowledge, sites, research about early childhood literacy. And when he walked in the door with that little 18-month-old, the first thing I did was like, why he ain't in school? He don't need to be in school. Him need to be with him, daddy. Ebonics necessary. So you gotta practice curiosity and not conclusions. I remember I was working at a particular child care, and there was a mom. This was a mom, okay? I had her child, and I said, please, mom, when you take her home on the weekends, please make sure she stays on the schedule. This mom didn't make sure she stayed on the schedule. I would email mom, I would give mom flyers, and mom just completely was gonna do whatever she wanted to do. We were having a family night. Another mom comes in, I have the flyers, and my director happened to be in the room. And mom comes in, and I'm like, oh my God, we're having a family night. Here's a flyer, you should come. It's gonna be great, it's gonna be amazing. We really want you to come, da-da-da. This mom walks in, and I'm like, here, we having a family night, man. You come, cool. So my director was like, Miss Jones, I need to talk to you. And I was like, what? And she was like, how come you gave the flyer to that mom with all the excitement, enthusiasm, and you pretty much just threw the flyer in that mom's face? And here is what I said. I said, well, because she don't really ever do nothing, and she a single mom anyway, so she probably don't have time. And then my director had to school me about my bias, and then she also schooled me about the term single mom, and she said, you know that term was only coined for political reasons to paint a picture of a mother in a negative light. So how dare you say that just because she's a single mom that she don't got time? Most of these single moms got more time than the married ones anyway. So what you're going to do is you're going to treat every parent that walks into this center like they belong here, whether you like them or not. And so we have to practice curiosity, which means we have to ask questions. Stop assuming because English is not somebody's first language that they're not more intelligent than you. Stop. Acceptance is not agreement. Your families don't have to vote like you, worship like you, look like you, have the same lifestyle that you do in order for you to feel like they belong. So if somebody walks into your center with a particular t-shirt that you don't like, supporting a particular cause or particular candidate that you don't like, you gotta say, let me check my bias at the door and serve this person and make them feel like they belong, because I don't have to like you to make you feel like you belong here. And I don't care what strategies you learn today, they're not going to work if you're not making people feel like they belong. So when it comes to our families, we have to find a way to connect with them. And how do we do that? We practice curiosity and not conclusions. Now this one right here. Can we just say, y'all might not get invited back. Your colleagues are not your friends. When I say collaborate with your colleagues, yeah, it's a big one. When I say collaborate with your colleagues, I mean we are collaborating for the purpose of making a better situation for our students and for our families. We are connecting for the purpose of the betterment of our students and our families. We are connecting for the purpose of the betterment of our students and families. So if I don't want to go to happy hour with you at 3 o'clock, it does not mean that I'm not a team player. Some people want to go home at 4 o'clock. Listen, if I don't want to kiki it with you in the parking lot before I had a quick story. I had a teacher come to me and she was like, well, I just feel like, she don't like me, da-da-da-da-da. And I said, have you ever talked to your coworker to say, hey, what's the deal? I said, because here's the deal. Some people, when I was in the classroom, I was the kiki in the parking lot chick. Okay? It was Monday. I'm trying to kiki. I want to know what the tea is. Where you go? Zanzibar. Where was you at? DC Live. I want to know the tea. But there are some people that need that time and space in the morning to get ready. They're about to invite 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 3-year-olds into their classroom, and they don't want to talk to you before. That doesn't mean that they're not a team player. And so with your colleagues, you have to practice grace and not gossip. This is not high school. It's not high school. I had a person come up to me after a keynote I did. I don't know if it was in Atlanta or California. And she said, Dr. Owen, I really loved your thing, and practice grace and not gossip and collaborate with my colleagues and stuff. But I just feel a certain type of way and I want to talk to you about it. And this young lady said to me, I don't think that one of my coworkers likes me because she didn't accept my Facebook friend request. And then I went to her and I said, hey, so, I sent you a Facebook request and you declined it. And she, you know what she said to me, Dr. O? She said, none of my coworkers are my friends on Facebook because I like to keep it separate. And I said to her, I said, baby girl, if your colleague does something to hinder the betterment of your students and families, then you can talk. I said, but outside of collaborating for the betterment of our students and our families, they don't owe you that. You're not getting an invitation to the wedding. Stop. When I got married 16 years ago, 2 people at my center got invited. Number 1, my director, because I knew her from church. And she gave me that job. And I knew her 6 years before I got the job. And second was my girlfriend, who I had transferred to the center because she was so awesome. Nobody else got an invitation to my wedding because I'm collaborating for the purpose of the betterment of students and families. Can we keep our personal life out of the classroom? A lot of the reason that the cultures in our classrooms and in our centers is toxic is because we don't know how to separate the two. But I will move on in Jesus' name. All right, so for yourself. Stop sacrificing yourself on the altar of early childhood education, period. As much as I'm an advocate for early childhood education, baby girl, baby boy, if you die tomorrow, we will replace you by Wednesday. Some of y'all need to take a day off. I had a director come up to me, say, Dr. O, I really love your keynote. Your keynote was awesome. Your keynote was excellent. But I just really didn't like the part where you said for the early childhood educators to take the day off. And she said, what if all my teachers decided to take the day off on Monday? And I said, if all your teachers want to take the day off on Monday, you got a bigger problem than just your teachers. Because the head controls the body. So if the body's out of control, us directors might want to look in the mirror. Because as a mother of 4 children, I would rather send my children into a 3-year-old classroom with 1 teacher and 15 3-year-olds that loves on them, wants to be there with them, is caring for them, than to send my 3-year-old into a classroom with 2 teachers and the teachers don't want to be there, they got attitude, they yelling. You yelling at the kids? Literally yelling at the children for doing developmentally appropriate things, all because you need a day off. Put on, step up your coat, get in line. Why are you doing it? Why are you over there? Get it. Stop. Can we please stop yelling at these kids? Stop. Yelling is designed to give you a jarring reaction. So if I yell at you, I want you to move quickly. If you were about to be hit by a car, I would yell at you so you can get out of the way. That's what yelling is designed for. And I had a person come to me and say, Dr. O, everybody yells, and that's just what we do. And then she said this. She said, some of these kids don't listen unless you yell at them. My response was this. If your director came into your classroom tomorrow and said, where my lesson plans at? Why you don't got my lesson plan? I asked you to give you. You know what you would say? I'm about to lose my job. I'm about to lose my job. Why? Because who are you talking to? Do our children deserve no less? They're no less human. So what I want you to remember is that we champion our children, we connect with our families, we collaborate with our colleagues, and we care for ourselves. And in true early childhood fashion, I wrote a song because songs, like Miss Maria said this morning, songs help us remember. She said the kids were remembering the Rolaids jingle, the kids were remembering the songs. So I said, you know what, how can I help all my DC Early Educators to remember these 4 things? And I thought I could write a little jingle. never, like, I could sing it for you, but I got a whole husband who sings. So I was like, why not bring my husband on stage to sing the song? So DJ, cue the music. I want y'all to give it up for my husband. I'm being back up.
Champion, connect, collaborate, care, DC Early Educator Experience. Champion, connect, collaborate, care, DC Early Educator Experience. We champion each other, we connect with family. Collaborate, together so the world will see. Years, we do our best. I can't hold myself, so we can ride the best. Champion, connect with family. Collaborate, together so the world will see. DC kids, we do our best. Champion, connect, collaborate, care, DC Early Educator Experience. 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 Champion, we connect with family. Collaborate together so the world will see. DC kids, we do our best. I can't hold myself, so they can rise above the rest. We champion, we connect with family. Collaborate together so the world will see. DC kids, we do our best. I can't hold myself, so they can rise above the rest. Champion, connect, collaborate, care, DC Early Educator Experience. 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 Oh, it's a cold call. Oh, it's a cold call, y'all. That's how peace, ready to act. Come on, that's how peace, ready to act. Come on, that's how west, where you at? Come on, that's how west, where you at? Come on, I know peace, where you at? Come on, I know peace, where you at? Come on, I know west, where you at? Come on, I know west, where you at? Hey, let's go, everybody scream, come on, come on. Champion, connect, collaborate, care, DC Early Educators done compare. Champion, connect, collaborate, care, DC Early Educator.
Keep me showing off. Y'all give it up for my husband. My time is up. I thank you for yours. Make sure you connect with me, DC, and we out.